Welcome back everyone, 98.6 grams, fully loaded with a 2S550 battery and a DJI O4 Pro air unit. Building a micro drone with uncompromising video quality under the 100 gram milestone is incredibly difficult. Most modern parts are just too heavy, and trying to push a frame this light to the limit can end in an absolute disaster. But if you know how to circumvent the weight limits and outsmart the aerodynamics, you get a masterpiece. To hit this weight and fix those massive aerodynamic flaws, I had to pass on the latest heavy electronics. The new cage for the O4 Pro is substantially bigger than before. It does a decent job to reduce vibration on the O4 Pro at the cost of being about 3 grams heavier. I am only using 2 bolts to secure the camera instead of 4, not to mention the must-have ND filter for the O4 Pro. The whole assembly with short dipoles and a microSD card weighs 38.1 grams. This leaves about 32 grams of quota towards our 70 gram dry weight target. BT 2.0 plugs instead of XT30 saves half a gram. I can use the same packs in other 1S travel quads. Pay close attention to the polarities here. The angled side is positive. A bridge connects to the second plug's pin on the round side, which is negative. Finally, solder the positive wire on plug number 1 and the ground wire on plug number 2 straight to the flight controller. BetaFPV F41S12A AIOV3 at a little over 4 gram from the original Pavo Pico is used, because the newer F42 to 3S20A AIO FCV1 is more than a gram heavier. Motors are 1102 14,000 kV from Pavo Pico or Pico II. Can't cut corners with 1002 motors this time, need all the mass to tame the prop wash.
The base plate needs to be over 105 millimeters between motors. It should weigh under 7 grams. The arms must support 1102 mounting pattern. Refer to my Toothpico video for modification detail.
For a travel quad, RX loss is catastrophic and it must be minimized. It is crucial that the antenna clears the fuselage to allow the best reception possible. The new antenna needs to stand at least 3 centimeters above the O4 Pro bracket. A total length of about 6 centimeters should be enough. For this antenna mod, we could steal one from an old receiver. Remove the stock antenna from the FC, measure the length of the stock antenna, and make sure the exposed wire has the exact same length as the stock one. Remove the outer skin and roll the shielding mesh into 2 separate tips, bending them into a fork-like shape. Protect the antenna with heat shrink tubing, apply heat, and make sure it stays in place. The new antenna is very light, and the scale doesn't even register it, just like the original. Finally, solder the new antenna to the antenna pad and the ground pads. The Pavo Pico II does not provide a separate adapter plate for modification, so that route won't work anymore. Instead, get an old foam card. Line it up with the Pavo Pico II base plate, making sure the usable area of the card accommodates all mounting holes. Aim for the dead center of the first hole and make an opening with a pin. Enlarge the opening with a 2mm drill bit, put an M2 bolt through, and secure it using a nut. Then use the base plate as a guide to drill the remaining holes on the card, securing it with more nuts and bolts as you progress. With all the holes drilled, cut off the excess carefully, avoiding cutting too close to the holes. Keep trimming so that it looks something like this. Make 5 openings with a reamer and make sure there is one right at the center for the O4 cable to go through. Drill an extra one next to the FC mounting hole for the antenna to go through. You would end up with an adapter card that looks like the one on the right if you use the base plate as is. It is okay to use it as is, but the camera would be sticking out to the front a lot. I prefer a better center of gravity, so I made the slightly different one on the left. The O4 bracket holes are about 46 millimeters apart front to back. So, I shifted the base plate backwards so that the front and back holes are about 23 millimeters from the center, ending up with this adapter mount that is much more balanced. It adds about 1.2 grams for the trouble, whereas the unaltered version weighs 1 gram. It is your call to make between a better center of gravity and being a fraction of a gram lighter. Let's start building by installing the motors, a light Velcro strap, and the battery pad. The mounting hardware consists of 4 20mm M2 bolts, 4 3mm M2 bolts, 8 plastic M2 nuts, and 4 metal M2 nuts. The longer black rubber grommets from any Pavo are used. Secure the 20mm bolts with metal nuts and tighten them completely using a pair of pliers. Drop a black grommet at each corner as a placeholder, followed by a rubber nut on each FC bolt. Allow some slack so that the FC is soft mounted. Put the antenna and O4 cable through their designated holes in the adapter card mount, followed by the FC mounting holes, and secure them by rubber nuts on the top, slightly tightened by a hand tool. Connect the O4 cable to the air unit and route the antenna through the opening behind the camera. Secure the O4 Pro bracket to the adapter mount using the 3mm M2 bolts. With all the bolts fastened, check the clearance between the front props and the camera housing. The props should spin freely without scraping any parts. There should be plenty of space for the props at the back to spin as well. The 20mm FC bolts ensure that the props will not collide with the O4 Pro bracket when they spin up. Here is the moment of truth. Will it be a legit sub 100 gram drone? Phew! It still has 29 grams of Quota left for the flight pack, which is a massive relief. 2 550 mAh 1S batteries will be used. There is no need to undo the strap. Just insert one pack first, press it down, and slide the second one right on top. Get ready for the all-up weight reading. It is officially a sub 100 gram drone. This means even the slightly heavier Lava 2 packs and others are entirely possible. Let's take it out for a spin. We will begin with some general flying for a consistency test, making sure the top-heavy build still handles well. It feels nice and smooth, just like the original Toothpico. There are no consistency issues in a full downward orbit. We get a solid picture that is completely jello-free as the quad climbs, thanks to the O4 Pro bracket and the ND filter. Gap time. As a travel drone, it will also need to capture cinematic footage at slower cruising speeds. Despite flying slow in the wind and gusts over the flower field, it held up incredibly well for an ultralight. I used gyroflow with the lock horizon option to mimic the output from my non-FPV DJI drone. While it is not a 100% replacement, it does a pretty decent job of replicating it. I am about 400 meters away from the quad with my body blocking the radio, and the reception is still solid. Flight time is close to 4 minutes with 2 450 mAh 1S packs. While I don't expect this to be a freestyle monster, it should still be capable of handling some acrobatics for action shots. A little oscillation there, but it did the job regardless. Wait, what was that yaw drift about? Let's try a nice and straight, low altitude power loop just to make sure it wasn't my imagination. Whoa, that was a real washout. This never happened in the previous version with the O3 air unit. What is going on? I tried diving like a madman after flying with another YouTuber Crazy Superman. And it doesn't seem to happen every single time. That was a minor one. Oh, yep, down it goes. Combining 2 Instar 360 selfie sticks. The poor thing was stuck 20 feet above the ground for over an hour. I really hope this rescue attempt works. Yes! Please give a big hand to Crazy Superman who came up with the idea, and check out his channel. Lucky for me, the quad is totally fine. Only the LiPo battery is a little bloated. So I made some PID adjustments and the washout seems to have subsided. Let's take it for a proper dive and see. Here it goes. Yikes! Not here, and not again. I have always been using a prop-out configuration across my entire fleet, where air is spun outward by the front propellers. However, the O4 Pro bracket sits up quite high to give the propellers clearance. That big bracket completely blocks the clean airflow heading straight down to the rear props during heavy vertical descents or tight turns. This exact combination severely suffocates the rear motors. They completely run out of clean air to grab, the flight controller spins them up to 100% trying to compensate, and you instantly lose your authority. By switching to prop-in configuration, air is scooped inward and flows smoothly along the fuselage on both sides. The rear propellers are no longer suffocated, meaning your authority can be perfectly maintained. This prop wash issue is much more prominent on smaller drones, especially ones carrying a big fuselage or heavy camera bracket. I've changed it over to prop-in now, so let's see how it fares. Here it comes. The washout is finally gone. Phew! Pitch is still a little bouncy, but there is absolutely no washout. Adding a little D-turn to the roll and pitch should fix that minor oscillation. It looks like it's finally ready for a real building dive. Let's go! Flawless execution, thank goodness. In terms of noise level, it is considerably quieter than a ducted drone, and only slightly louder than a typical 1S would. It easily blends into the ambient background sound starting from about 30 feet away. So, can you actually build a premium, semi-hard ripping DJI O4 Pro micro drone under the 100-gram milestone? Absolutely. Reusing the components from the Pavo Pico, we unlocked a stealthy, versatile flying camera that does both cinematic cruising and aggressive acrobatics. Once you fix that prop-in configuration, of course. It is proof that you don't always need the latest, heaviest electronics to get a great experience. Sometimes, strategic weight hacking and using what you already have on the bench is the ultimate way to fly. The full component list for this 98.6 gram build is linked down in the description below. Let me know in the comments if you will build one or not, and stay tuned, because in the next video, we are building a sub 100 gram, long-range 1S quad with a DJI O4 that runs on a single 18650 cell. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.